Good evening and welcome, and thank you all so much for joining us. We love having you here. We love doing these presentations and hope that you'll one day contribute to them as well. Tonight we have a wonderful guest, and I'm going to let Linda Galicchio do the introductions. Linda, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Tonight we have Mr. Walter Shepherdson, and he is a great guy, a good friend, and we met on these in school and in class and on these broadcasts, and he has a great presentation about money. I know for me, I can always learn more about money. So a little bit about Walt is he was born and raised in central New York. His 20-year career in electronics ranged from Air Force service to the private sector. He was followed with 10 years of sales and radio voiceover work. Now he is living his life's calling as a professional and certified coach helping others. Walt struggled with money, as he will tell you, and credit for many years due to many reasons. And in this webinar, he will not only explain to you what he went through and why, he will give you the tools to overcome money issues yourself and or to help others you may have in your life who can use the guidance and really who can't. So, Walt, thank you for being here. Appreciate it so much, and take it away.
My pleasure. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Barbara. Another wonderful introduction. I am here in central New York, where it is very warm for this time of year for us. It was an absolutely beautiful day today. And my interest in this, when Linda mentioned it to me when I was going through the coaching class about getting involved in these webinars, and coming up with topics and things, this is something that really resonated with me. I'm passionate about it. I'm fanatical about it in some ways, I guess. And in some things I compare it to someone who was a smoker and then they quit. You don't want to be around smokers and things. I'm not like that in that sense, but I want to help people understand money, and I struggled with it, as Linda said, for many, many years between not having a job, medical bills and things, and just being immature about how things, how bills pile up, and then not having the knowledge or background or a mentor, if you will, to help me with it. So 20 plus years I spent digging myself into holes, climbing out of them, digging, climbing out, and sort of like my personal journey that brought me to coaching. And with that, back in, I want to say 2005, I really started to get serious about turning my financial picture around. And so I started looking at what was out there and what money can do for you and how important it is. And, as we move on, through the 2010 decade, everything seems to be very much bottom line driven in this country. The way companies are, shareholders and things. And it just seems like, we're a very money-centric country. And, for me, money is a means to an end. I pay bills. It allows me to do what I want to do. It allows me to go places that I would like to go, and it allows me to help people. Family and friends, I grew up with a single parent who helped me many times, as I was maturing, if you will. And with the things my mother did for me, I never dreamed I'd be able to do it for myself, let alone for anybody else. And as I, moved forward from 2005 up to now, I built not only my own score and my own attitude about money, but I've done that. I've coached other people how to do it, and it's just an incredibly gratifying thing to watch people as they go through this journey themselves. And money started way back probably in the Stone Age, bartering and what people wanted as value for them and they traded things off, and then as time went by, they went to coinage, back in Roman days, every once in a while they dig up things and they find coins from way back when, and then we move into this century and even the last century, previous century, with paper money and coins and things, and then you get into credit and then electronic money where you don't actually see it, you just have a spreadsheet, or you log into an online bank account and you see numbers there. It's not physical, but it's there. You still own it. You just don't have it in your wallet other than on a plastic card. So, what money allows us to do is it allows us to grow. It allows us to experience new things. It allows us to have nice things. Some people struggle with that, whether or not they feel like they are worthy of having things. And I know I struggled with that for a long time. I went in one direction where I was very materialistic when I was younger, to a point now where material things don't really matter to me. As long as I can do what I love doing, I'm happy with it. And getting to that point, was a big thing for me. It allowed me to really, grow as a person, I guess. And that's what I want to help everybody understand with, with this seminar. I want people to learn some things, pick some things up, and if anybody has questions as we're going, feel free to drop them in the box, and we'll get to them at the end. And just to let people know, Barb and Linda both know how to reach me if somebody has questions beyond what is answered here or what we have time for. Feel free to reach out to them, and they can get it to me, and I'll do what I can to answer any questions or help anybody any way I can. So now, we're in 2014. Credit and things are very important, very prominent. We went from people writing checks back, in the day, and now it's a kind of an unusual thing, at least for me where I am, to see someone writing a check. And generally when they do, I don't know, it's almost like it holds up the world. I do all my banking online. I don't know how many people who are listening to this do, but I feel like doing things like that, having this kind of technology, has helped me get a grasp of things. When I would get paper statements in the mail from credit cards or bank statements and stuff, a lot of times they just end up in a big pile. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. You don't want to open an envelope that you feel may contain bad news and things. So, what I do is everything goes through the computer. Everything I do is electronic. I carry a minimal amount of cash with me. I use credit cards to pay everything. I use a debit card only if it's a place that won't take a credit card. But other than that, I don't use cash, except in very rare circumstances, because I feel like I have more control over what I spend with a credit card. And, a lot of people, they struggle with that too, and, they don't see it as actually spending money. But when I started this journey to, get to where I am now back in 2005, I opened up a secure credit card through a local credit union. And that secured credit card helped me to learn how to control, spending and things. And, and there was a finite amount of money on there. I struggled. And even when I got involved in coaching, it was a multi-year journey to get to this point with Wainwright Global, because of the attitude I had with money and the way, the way I struggled. And as I was able to overcome that by, some of these things, the electronic things, and diving deeper into statements and that sort of thing, I was able to understand better where this money was going and why. And in a holistic sense, I feel like I have more assets now. I have more, almost, the abundance I feel growing and digging into this sort of, really digging deep into money and understanding it has helped me dramatically with every part of my life. It's not, it's not just the financial stuff, but it's helped me grow as a person overall. And again, it's allowed me to do things that I never dreamed I'd be able to do for my children, my grandchildren, for friends. And, it allows me to do things like this, where when I was working in the private sector, I never, ever felt like I made a difference in anybody's life. And, a 30-year career between electronics and sales and that sort of thing, just it never resonated with me. So in that sense, there's a gratitude component to all of this, a holistic component. I feel fulfilled to really, be able to spend this money on, people, on other, not on myself. And when when you allow yourself to go out there and just feel that no matter what you do, it's going to come back to you in ways, and you're not going to be, I don't hold on to money like I used to. I shared a story with Linda a while ago how when I had bills to pay and if I had cash in my pocket, I would ignore the bills to hold on to the cash because it was just that little piece of something that, it was a fear, a lack, and I would just wait, till the last possible moment, or I would just ignore the bill altogether until, somebody came, figuratively knocking at the door looking for the money, and, just digging myself into a deeper and deeper hole. So when you start to understand, what it is that you can do with these things, and you set yourself up for, the different electronic techniques that are out there. I was never good with, the paper trail sort of thing. With this, I don't know how many people actually do online banking, how many people trust it. There's been a lot of stuff in the news lately about, credit card breaches and that sort of thing. But that's an unusual occurrence. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who take their talents and they put it to bad use to go out there and do that sort of thing. But it's actually safer to do that, especially with the the fail safes that are on there, as long as you realize what's going on with your credit cards, with your credit accounts and things, with your bank accounts. You get, you stay faithful to it and you keep an eye on it. And you can set yourself goals, and you can set up values that you want to hang on to, you want to keep, thresholds you want to hold on to. And then once you have that stuff set up, it becomes a repetitious thing, month after month, week after week, where you know where everything's going. With emails and stuff, I don't even receive statements in the mail unless it's the only way a company will send me a statement is via the U.S. mail. I prefer to do everything online. There's a lot of different companies that are out there. There's a lot of websites that you can go out there and use. There's a website called Quizzle.com that'll give you a credit report and a credit score. You have Credit Karma, Credit.com, Credit Sesame. Those are all programs and websites that will allow you to keep an eye on what's going on with your money. Some of these companies now will even allow you can even link your accounts to these websites, and you can literally get a daily snapshot of things. Some credit cards now are giving you FICO scores as a perk of the credit card. And then you also have the annual credit report website. That's through the government. Most states you're allowed one credit statement per year per the big three: Experian, TransUnion, and now the third one escapes me. But you can go out. You can go on annualcreditreport.com, and you can go out quarterly or every 4 months or so, and just pick a different one and get a good idea of what's going on in your credit life. I recommend being proactive with what you're doing, getting out there and really, looking for the best values and things. Looking for, the tools. Like I said, as you're doing this thing with these tools, with with the Quizzles and the Credit Karmas and stuff, that inspires you to do more, because you can see progress. And I think that was the biggest hurdle for me, was seeing progress and not seeing it quickly enough. Taking one step forward, two back, two forward, one back, falling into a hole, digging myself into holes and pulling myself out of it. And then, if you're married, you have a spouse, you have a significant other, you have friends, you have children, you can talk to them about what's going on. And the more you vocalize what you want to do, I'm a firm believer in, the sense of the universe brings things back to you, and it gives you more tools to put in your tool belt, and it allows you to, really hone in on what you're trying to do. And when if you don't understand things, you ask for help, or you work with others once you do understand it, and you start digging into these things. 2005, like I said earlier, I opened up a secured credit card, and from doing that, it gave me a relationship with the credit union. And then in 2007, it allowed me to buy an automobile, because I had built a relationship with the credit union. Even though my credit score, was not stellar, I had built that relationship with them. And from the credit card and the automobile, then came what are called subprime credit card offers, where you're paying these companies a fee every month whether you use the card or not. But that also allowed me to, to build my score, to show positive growth. And then I went on annualcreditreport.com, and I pulled my credit report, and I looked at what was out there. And obviously you want to see positive things, and the negative stuff, you want to take a look at it and see. Most states, it's anywhere from 4 to 6 years where a negative item will sit there on your credit report and hold you back. But with the Consumer Finance Bureau now, since that was enacted a couple of years ago, you can go out and dispute things, and there is actually an oversight of these credit reporting companies now that they have to remove things within 30 days. That was always the standard, but a lot of times they got away from that because there was nobody holding their feet to the fire. So you go out now and you look at these credit reports, use these tools to pull them. And what I did is I disputed things that were out there, because some of the stuff that was on there had changed hands multiple times, gone through multiple collection agencies and stuff. And even though it was painful when I was going through it, it allowed me to to understand things better. And it also helped me grow as a person. Again, I was a very quiet person when I was doing my electronics job. If I could get in and out of a site without anybody even noticing me, I was thrilled. When I did the radio stuff and when I was doing sales, I wasn't, even though people had told me since I was a kid I could sell, because of the voice I have. And I wanted to be in radio when I was a teenager, but it never worked out. And when I was an adult and that opportunity showed up in my life, it no longer was something I wanted to do. So as I, started moving into these, going from job to job, sales job to the radio job and things, I wasn't making great money, and I'm stumbling around, but then these tools, these subprime cards come into my life, and I started to build a better credit portfolio. And there's multiple companies out there. I mean, even the big companies now, Capital One, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they have secured cards and things that you can take advantage of, or local credit unions where you live. There's I used a couple different ones. First Savings was a company that gave me a credit card. And it allowed me to get a handle on things, and a lot of this, once you start feeling good about yourself and about what you're doing, and understanding credit scores, credit reports, interest rates, and that kind of stuff, you get into the things in depth, and understand that you don't have to pay interest if you're making your payments by month to month. When I first got the cards, the interest rates were off the charts, somewhere in the 20s, mid-20s or up, and I was living on those and just carrying a balance around. It was really driving me deeper and deeper into a hole. And I had another card that I had gotten through General Electric Money Bank called Care Credit. It's a health credit card, and I needed some dental work, and I had that card that somehow I qualified for, and I couldn't understand how, but the dentist was able to get me qualified for this card. And the Care Credit card is the one that really pushed me over the top with my credit, because they gave me a limit on the card, and then it pretty much ate up the limit. So whatever the dentist put through with X amount of dollars needed for the dental work, that was my credit limit. So I had a 100% utilization on that. And the experts say you want to keep your utilization under 30%. Some say 20, ideally under 10. So if you have say a $300 credit card, a $300 limit or a $500 limit, you don't want to spend more than $30 or $50, balance-wise on those cards month to month. So with this Care Credit card, I had a balance of, let's just use a round number and say $1,000, and that was the credit limit. And I'm making payments, and I'm looking at these payments. And I'm going online and I'm doing the payments, and they gave me an interest-free plan. Well, one of the things they didn't do is they didn't explain to me how that worked and how credit was building in the background. And one day I got my statement, and I noticed that if I paid $100 in a month, only $50 was going to pay down the balance of the card, and the other $50 was going towards interest. So I'm knocking off, only half of what I was spending money-wise, and then I missed, a couple of them. I missed deadlines for the interest-free parts of the card, and what happened is all this excess interest that was building up, that if you paid it off within a certain time frame, that interest would go away. That was all piled on top of it, and I hit a breaking point one day. And I was looking at a statement, and I, literally started to break down, because I couldn't see any way out of what was going on. And I called General Electric, and I spoke with a customer service rep, and I said, and I don't even know where this came from, because at that point in my life, or so years ago, I was still very quiet and very shy, and I said to him, I don't know how this works, but it's really, you're killing me with this, with the interest in the way you are, applying these payments and stuff. And I just asked for help. And that was a big step too, just saying, look, can you please help me? And it went from a customer service rep to a supervisor, and then that supervisor transferred me to a different part of GE. And I ended up speaking with this wonderful woman who listened to me, wanted to help, and what she said is, I think I can do something better for you than what you're asking. And I had no idea what that meant, but I took her at her word, and she came back to me about, I don't know, 2 hours later with a payment plan that I was just astounded by. And she gave me an interest-free payment plan that I was blown away, by her generosity, because I didn't have any kind of leverage. But the biggest thing I did is I asked for help. I didn't tell her what to do. I just said, please, can you help me? This is, and I know a lot of people struggle with asking for help. And, as coaches, we want to help people. And that, was a part of that, but I could help everybody else around me. I just couldn't help myself. And seeing how spending all that money, basically throwing a $50 bill up in the air every month and letting the four winds carry it away, helped me, to look at these things. And so after she did that, I started reading these statements religiously and looking at what the interest rate was, what the promotions were, how they worked time-wise, and, looking at the fine print, which, people rarely ever read because it's just tedious, to dig through it. And so, when you reach out to somebody and you ask them for help, and you look at what you're doing, pull credit reports, get your statements together, whether it's online or in paper, and and really look at them and really pay attention to them and see what it is that you're doing, where this money is going, and if you're in credit card debt, look at the highest interest rate cards you have, look at the biggest balances you have, pay minimum payments on the ones that aren't the highest interest rate or the highest balance, and pay these things down, create a plan where you're, some people even use a spreadsheet where they'll put everything on there, they'll put their balances on there. For a long time, I did it in Microsoft Word. I just created my own little, I don't know how to use a spreadsheet, so I would just create this little Word program, and I was writing down everything that I was paying out every month. And again, that gave me it propelled me to move forward, because I could see it. Even though a lot of times it was incremental, I might have knocked off $10 off the principal, or $20 or $30. It started to add up, and it gave me the impetus to keep going, and to get, once I started getting out of those holes and started avoiding going in new ones, knowledge, the knowledge of how this stuff works, you go out there and you get these tools. I use Credit Karma religiously. I look at it once a week with Quizzle and with Credit.com. They send me statements once a month that I can look at, and when you see your score moving up, I don't know how many people are really familiar with the FICO score and how it works, and there's probably 100+ different variations of it out there depending on what kind of loan you're taking. But look at these numbers, watch these numbers move, and see them moving forward, moving up, and celebrate your victories. Give yourself a pat on the back. Be happy that, you're making progress, and whether, it's huge progress or small progress. That was one of the things I had to learn to do, was to celebrate when I was, doing something positive and not absolutely, obliterating myself over making a mistake. Earlier tonight I logged into one of my credit cards and I looked at it and went, wait a minute, how did I miss this thing? Because there's a lot of stuff out there, and switching from Windows-based machine to this Mac that you're looking at, and I just missed one of the credit cards. So the first thing I did when I noticed that I did that, I called and I said, this is what happened. This is what I'm, and the customer service rep was amazing. He said, not a problem. As a courtesy, we'll take care of it for you. Don't, even give it a second thought. And I could not have done that, 5 years ago. I'd have been terrified to even call him because I didn't want to hear anything negative. I didn't want to feel bad. But I asked for help, and the gentleman was just more than happy to do it, and that happens so often. So gather up all these tools and work with them, work with the Quizzles and work with the Credit Karmas and Credit Sesame and stuff, and and I make a game out of it. And the other thing that I do that was a big thing, and I learned this through The Secret, through Louise Hay, is I pay my bills joyously. I look forward to bills coming in so I can pay them. And even, a few years ago when I didn't have the money to do it, I forced myself to do it. I had to break old patterns of my own to, make myself make these payments, and, I built the momentum to do it, and I started to celebrate that. I don't feel any scarcity in my life anymore. I have an attitude of gratitude that, this stuff is provided to me, that these tools show up, that these teachers show up in my life to help me. I leveraged the money that I had, using that technique, paying off the high balance cards and the high interest cards, and just moving it down, and again, making a game out of it, being happy to do it. And then, I started to help other people. Even as I was going through my journey and doing it, I started to help other people. And then I had not only my own things to celebrate, but I could celebrate with them as they were making progress. And I believed I could get through this. And, part of me as a coach, I believe I can affect change, I can help people. And I see it, I visualize it, and it happens, and it constantly amazes me at how good it feels. And I'm proactive about doing this stuff. I'm actively on these websites monthly and weekly, and a lot of the bills, I go on, especially my banking, I get on there and I look at it and I want to see where my money's going. Everybody, loves money. They love what it brings, to our life experience, and you want it to go further. You don't want to just give it away. You don't want to just throw these dollar bills up in the air. And then the other key to all of this is just time passing. You've got to have patience, because you can't, there's no magic wand to build your credit score overnight. If you pull a credit report, you see things that are on there and you dispute them, if they can't prove it, they have to drop off, and that helps you move forward. But the biggest thing is just, watching time pass, and set up a calendar if you're computer literate, if you enjoy it. And obviously, a lot of people are on the webinar, they understand it, so do that. Set yourself up a calendar, put everything there. You get alerts, get ticklers, get email alerts, and help yourself in that way. I know as I get older, it's harder to remember stuff for me, so I use all the technology in my life to help me remember things. And I guess, in closing, believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, go out there and get, all the information you can possibly gather, get it together, talk to your spouse, talk to, whomever it is. And if you have if you have one vision of the way money should be used, spent, whatever, and your spouse has a different vision, try and come to some sort of solid, common ground together, work together, or, maybe one person should do it and the other one, just appoint somebody to do that. But, try it. Don't make it butt heads. I mean, when my marriage ended 20 years ago, a big part of that was because we didn't see eye to eye money-wise. And it was very, very difficult for the two of us to even talk about it. It 9 times out of 10 would, get contentious, and I'd get frustrated, and she'd get frustrated, and out it would go. So now I pay my bills joyously. I stay on top of things. I learn as much as I can. And I just, I love helping me along with helping others. So anyone have any questions or anything I can help them with, or any comments, feel free to fire away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Walt. That was wonderful information, really good information. What I really like that you say is that money is a joyous thing for you now. You know about it, you can see your successes with it, and so it's a joyful thing for you to pay your bills all the time. And it's like a lot of us grew up in a time when nobody talked about money. It was nobody told anyone what they made. It was really something that seemed mysterious and secretive. And so I know for me, it just had this whole mystique about it.
Yeah.
And other people knew how to do it, but I didn't, and having you make it so much plainer and easier, and and then it's an authority thing too.
Yep.
So I think money has had a lot of bad connotations about it.
I know growing up, my mother from my grandmother, they had this attitude of scarcity, and they had to, stock up when things were on sale. So you'd have, 45 cans of pork and beans in the cupboard kind of thing. And when my parents were together, my father paid all the bills. Everything was in his name. My mother had nothing in her name at all. And one of the things I'm fanatical about, I have 4 daughters, and I empower my girls to not depend on a guy in their life, to do this on their own, to have their own credit score, their own identity as a person in the financial world. And I even did that with my ex. My ex and I, we were horrible as a married couple, but we are great parents, great grandparents, great friends. And the first time her credit score went past mine, I mean, part of me was like, how did that happen? But the other part of me was celebrating. I was, throwing a party because it gave me something to shoot for, but I was very happy for her. And I guess in some ways I felt bad that the marriage ended, and that was one way of giving back and helping her stand on her own. And now, she has a great credit score. She has great credit cards. She has a brand new vehicle to drive. She has her own business. And I couldn't be more proud of myself that I had a hand in that. And that's not, I don't care as much about me as I do about the people around me being happy and having these tools, having these things, to fall back on. To see my daughters and to be able to help them now. A year ago, I just started getting all misty-eyed here talking about it. It means so much to me that I can help them, and that I can help anybody. I mean, it doesn't matter if I know you or not. I want to help people, and I love doing it. And it's hard for some people to pay a bill, joyously. They look at me like I have 3 heads when I say that. But I do. I love paying bills, and it empowers me, and it makes, it doesn't make me want to create more bills, but it makes me want to pay the things that I have, the recurring expenses. I pay it joyously, and my cars are newer. This computer, showed up in my life just like, when I finally took the class with you, when that was a struggle. I mean, in some ways, you guys have seen a microcosm of the stuff I've gone through just getting through the coaching class, and it's just an incredible ride.
Yeah. That's wonderful, Walt. And, you know, it's so great that you want to help other people because it's such a contentious topic. I think it's the #1 reason for divorce.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't doubt that at all.
yeah, definitely. I just want to say thank you for all the tips and the tools and the resources. And one other thing that I taught my children and my husband too is that everything is negotiable.
Yes,
And
absolutely. That's a great point.
yeah, and I can't even tell you the things that they've negotiated that people would never even think of that they've gotten. It's really a wonderful thing. I think teaching your kids that is
That goes hand in hand with asking for help. If
asking
you
for
go to
help.
somebody and say,
Absolutely.
I want to pay this, they're going to be back on their heels. They're going to go, whoa, wait a minute. But if you say, can you help me?
Hmm.
This is what I would like to do. Is there a way for you to, to help me do that? If they can, I mean, people, it's funny, they move heaven and earth because they
Yes.
feel valued. They want to help you. If you demand something, 9 times out of 10, forget about it. But if you
That's
ask
right.
for help, they will
It's
do
how
that.
you say it.
That's a great point, Linda.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you know what? I'm going to throw it out to people on the webinar, and any questions, please feel free to ask your questions to Walt. He has a great grasp, and I also hear that, one day you just decide, this is it,
That's it.
and then you see yourself, and get proud of
That
yourself.
was a
And
big thing.
yeah,
I, I,
and then you don't have guilt about it anymore, shame, guilt, all of that
I
comes
was
with
never proud of me about a lot of things.
it.
And
Yeah.
now, and that goes hand in hand with the coaching and with doing this and stuff. It's incredible. It's an unbelievable feeling.
That's fabulous, and then people can turn this into their businesses too,
Yep.
helping with money for their business. So, any questions? Any questions, anybody?
Put everybody to sleep.
No. Surely you have to have some questions. No, you're good? Okay, I unmuted people, so you could talk if you want to, or did you put any questions? Let's see. Are you sure you have no questions? Okay. Well, I mean, maybe people have questions after they think about it. And I just, for me, it's so hard. And, I also think that you're talking about lack. So people bring that with them into their adulthood always. If your parents were what happened with you, we have to save money, we don't have anything. I know my husband grew up in a very wealthy town, and his father was a barber, so his parents always told him, we have nothing, everybody's rich and we're not, right? So today he carries that with him. He's afraid. He doesn't have money, he'll never have money, and he does very well, but he still doesn't know that. So I think it's really important to look at yourself and see how you handle your money. Yeah. So any other questions, anybody? No? Anything else, Walt, you want to say? Are you there? Oh, I don't know what happened to Walt. Walt, are you there? Background? What is he saying, background? He's trying to tell me something, I think, but I don't know what it is. Can you hear me? Here, let me just type. Hi, Winnie. Winnie?
Oh, okay.
Did you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, but
Well, I have a comment.
we lost Walt, though.
Oh,
Hold on, let me just ask him. He keeps circling background. I don't know what that means. What do you mean, Walt? Can you hear me? Write in the chat box. Write in the chat box.
You mean me or Walter?
Okay, give me your question and I'll write it for him.
No, I didn't have a question. I just had a statement about my relationship with money and how it's not more like I'm not using the money. It's more like in my coaching practice how I'm not using that to.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Walt about it, but he can't hear us. But I will ask him to come back another time and talk about that as far as money, as far as your business goes too. But I think it's a good foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, before talking about that.
All right.
So I don't know where you are. Walt? What is money? Double click to edit. Okay, well maybe he thinks that we're gone. I am muted. Okay, you're muted. Unmute. How did you get muted? Can you unmute yourself? Because it'll probably, nope. Ay, ay, ay. I'm sorry. I don't know how to get you unmuted, so you're not here. Are you muted? Did you mute yourself by accident? Because there's nothing here that would help me to unmute you. I've tried. I cannot type in the chat box either. Oh, very strange. Okay. Well, all right. So I'm sorry. If anybody has any questions, you can email me at lindagallicchio@live.com, GALLICCHIO. Okay, feel free to ask questions via email. And give your email address, Walt. You want to give your email address? Okay, he's going to give his email address if anybody wants it. It'll be great, and you have any questions. And the thing I know about Walt is that he's really, really helpful, and he really means it when he says he wants to help you if you need it. Okay? Okay, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, here's his email. Do you see his email address?
Yeah.
Okay, it's wrsclnf@gmail.com. Joanne, can you hear me?
Unmuted. Joanne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Barbara, are you there? I guess not. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. And I know Walt wishes you well. Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. And next week we're talking about building your business. Craig Para has a very successful coaching practice. He's going to tell you how he got it and give you some tips and help. And yeah, Walt says, I have tried. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for coming. We always appreciate when you come, your time, and thank you. Come again next week.